Well, hello again. This is Brian Copeland talking. Welcome to another edition of Copeland's Corner. If all goes well, we'll be joined a little bit later on by a distinguished panel of comics, and we'll talk about some of the news of the week. Let me start by saying Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day if you got a Valentine. But if you don't have a Valentine, it's a special Happy Valentine's Day to you. Because people without Valentine, for some reason, are made to feel like they are social rejects. Speaking of social rejects, did you see the Valentine that Trump sent Melania today? Oh my God. So here's what he does. He sent out, he wrote, I wonder if he even wrote it. I doubt he wrote it. He probably paid somebody to write it. And it's like kind of like a love letter to Melania saying, I love you and thank you for, I couldn't be the man I am without you. And thank you for standing by me and next to all these indictments and during all of this witch hunt stuff. I love you. Signed, Donald J. Trump. That's how he signed it. Donald J. Trump. Like, she don't know. He couldn't just put D, or put Don, but Donald J. Trump. And then underneath that, and by the way, this went out to everybody on their mailing list. This wasn't like a private note that he sent to Melania. This went out to everybody on their mailing list. And at the bottom of it, it says, support our wonderful First Lady and wish her a happy Valentine's Day. And you click the link, and it takes you to a page to donate $47. So his Valentine to his wife is for you to donate $47 to his campaign. I don't know why $47. I'm assuming because this will be the 47th president. I'm guessing he was 45 and Biden is 46, and I guess $47 bucks. But that's it. That is his Valentine. So as crappy as your Valentine's Day may be, and as crappy as the gift or non-gift you get from your Valentine, it's not going to be as bad as that. This is part of the podcast that we call Headliners on the Headlines. Joining me, my panel of comics this week, Chris Riggins Ngaio Bealum and Kate Robards. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Happy VD, everyone.
Yes, happy Valentine's Day. And I'm going to start with that. And I'll start with the guys first. When you are in a relationship with a woman, do you feel any special pressure on Valentine's Day? Like there's stuff you're supposed to be doing? I mean, is there pressure on you? Does that put pressure on you?
Every day is Valentine's Day with me.
Yeah, I feel like if you let it put pressure on you, it will. I mean, that's kind of related. It depends on the kind of relationship you have. Like, I'm glad I'm past the stage of having to buy Valentine's gifts. I love not having to rush to get some flowers and do all this stuff. It's a capitalist money grab. So I just prefer to do that stuff on a normal basis, just on GP. You know what I do to be really romantic? I put the toilet seat down. That's better than any dozen of roses.
It's the little things, Chris.
My partner never has to touch the trash. That's my romantic gesture. She is never had to take the trash. I am far from trash. I am rubbish, sir. I am.
But how many years did it take for you to get there? How many years are you?
I'm 45, so it took about like 43 years to get here.
I'm with your girlfriend, your partner.
What's that?
How many years have you been with your partner?
We've been together, it'll be a year in April.
Congratulations, California. That's silver?
Yeah.
Is that silver in California? All right, how about you, Ngaio? Is there pressure to do something?
Why would there be pressure?
Well, there's
my birthday is tomorrow, so really that's the pressure. You should be doing something for me. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So you don't go and do, because like when I was younger, it just seemed like, because all the women would get together. What did your boyfriend do for you? Especially if you worked in an office. Well, what did he do for you? Oh, I took me out to dinner. Oh, I got roses. Oh, look at the diamond he gave me. All of that kind of crap. So there was all that pressure. I've got a girlfriend now, and last night, my gift was I sat with her through the Notebook. I sat my ass down and watched the Notebook.
It's a good movie.
That's heroic type stuff. That's heroic stuff, bro. You deserve some sort of dinner.
That's Ryan Gosling, right? Ryan Gosling, his character in the beginning of that film is horrible with consent. She told that dude no like 5 times, and he climbed a freaking Ferris wheel to get at her. And
red flag.
I admire the commitment, but I think he would be canceled in today's society. No meaning no.
Red
He
flag.
tells you no twice. You got to stop.
In a lot of men's defense, and I will say this, and this may sound terrible, but a lot of times for Valentine's Day, women like to recycle the Valentine's gift that they gave us 2 nights before. I just want to say, I enjoy having relations and intercourse with the person I'm dating, but if you consider that a gift on Valentine's Day, I'm really going to start considering cheating, just because I feel like that is something you've been giving me all year. And I went out and I bought a gift that you didn't have last week. I went out and found something that you really wanted. I listened when we went to IKEA and you said you liked those shelves. I listened. I went and got those shelves and the candles to go on the shelf because I know you like that.
Just so I'm clear, you're bitching about the fact. Well, you're bitching about the fact that you're getting laid twice in the same week.
I'm mad about it being the same gift that I got last year. You have to listen to the words.
You're saying she should spice it up, add a twist.
It's something like, okay, go down.
Right? She should have listened when you said that little redhead girl with bangs was hella cute.
Right. You can't give me the same gift every Valentine's Day except get another one.
Oh, yeah, we'll tech.
You're so upset you've broken your connection, Chris.
Yeah, you're freezing. That's how upset he is. I'm gonna run a Kate because I want the woman's perspective, and that is it really a big deal for women? Is it a big deal for you? Is it a big deal for your girlfriends? What he does for you?
I mean, I'm divorced, so the expectations are low. Like I've already publicly been humiliated with my love enough times. So with that said, last year, I'm dating the same guy I was with last year. He is a comic, so that's how I did find love in a hopeless place. But last year, I tricked him I was on a work trip and I was like, oh, do you want to come to Miami? And it fell during Valentine's Day. So I tricked him into it, and the hotel was like, noticed us together, put roses. But this year I was like not expecting anything. I just, I got laid off recently. So it's been like, I've been very sad. And then he came in, I was like, just telling my friends, I'm like, I don't care, I just need, and he came in with flowers and I was like, oh my God, like, just like I fell apart because I wasn't expecting it, In the past years, I've had more bandwidth to like trick them into doing something special. And when you least expect it, I feel like that's when you're the most like, just set the bar so low that if they, put that toilet seat down, like Chris said, you're just like, oh my gosh, this is so nice of you.
Let me back this up. You said trick them into it. So you're saying that you are manipulative when it comes to the men in your relationship? Is that what I heard you say?
Well, to get any man in a relationship as a grown up, like when I was younger, I didn't have this problem, but like I feel like you kind of have to trick them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Trick them. How? Give me an example of how you would trick a man in a relationship.
Well, you like invite them somewhere and it's like Valentine's Day, but they don't realize it. And then you're just like, oh, look at us. We're together. And then, you just like start your whisper campaigns of like, oh yeah, this is my man. This is my man. Like, and it could be even before you've spoken to him, you just start. And I knew that
education here. I'm learning.
Yes.
Speaking it to an existence.
That's
manifesting.
Right. Manifesting. I knew I had successfully manifested when I was like telling someone I had a crush on my now boyfriend. I said, I like him. He's cute. And the guy looked at me and goes, and I knew they'd been on the road together recently. He goes, I think he has a girlfriend. I was like, yes, he does. It is me. Like it is I. And it was because I was talking to him on that trip, but I was like, I love that it's gotten out there that he's with someone.
All right. So what do we learn? The secret actually works.
Yeah.
Act
Yeah.
F.
Hey, I need you to meet me at this casino/church in Reno right quick. There's a couple things. I need you to run some errands with me.
Look for the Elvis and then turn into the parking lot with Elvis. Yes. Elvis.
Just dress nice. Just dress nice.
nice.
Don't worry about why. Just dress nice.
All right, let's jump
Wear
into
something
it.
blue and something borrowed.
Let's jump into it. This is a story. It's such a weird story. I figured I had to start with this. CNN did this story, and I'm not sure what city. It was somewhere back east. I want to say it was in Connecticut, where a young woman in her late 30s did 23andMe, and she found out that she had 22 siblings. By the time she was done, it was 22 siblings.
Nick Cannon?
What the deal was that her mother had been artificially inseminated, and that's how she came into being. And come to find out that the doctor had been using his own semen to impregnate all these women without telling them. And here's the worst part. The worst part is that one of the people who she found on 23andMe, one of her half siblings, was her high school boyfriend, and they used to sleep together.
Florida, you said?
I want to say Connecticut. I want to say Connecticut.
Close enough.
Now here's
the Florida of the East Coast.
Now here's the thing that surprises me, because there was a Netflix special documentary on one of these doctors who did, had like 30 or 40 or
it's not the first time.
Kids. Yeah, it's not illegal. There's no jurisdiction in America where it's against the law. So my question is, ethically, obviously what he did is wrong, but do you think it should be illegal? You went in, you paid money to be inseminated, you were inseminated, it worked, you had your child. Does it matter where the semen came from?
My understanding was you're supposed to have a choice of semen
donor. Yeah.
Don't you? Isn't there like a book you look through? You're like, oh, this person is very smart. They have a PhD. They're a little nearsighted. They got bad knees. I don't know. This person is this. This person is that. We want a Mexican.
Like, I'm on a budget. I've got the ex-con who,
Right. You want my kid. I want my kid to be kind of tough. So you have anybody who's a little bit of a sociopath? Just not a lot. Just enough so they don't get bullied in school.
I wonder if it was kind of like some mistake that happened. Like there was all these different sperms and like someone spilled them and he was like, well, I guess I have
23?
to fulfill the needs. These people want babies and the sperm is on the floor. These people want babies.
5 seconds.
I sung the Hippocratic oath to do no harm and I will give these people babies. Maybe that's what happened.
So do you think this doctor belongs in jail?
If there was deception in any part of it, yes. I feel like if as a couple goes in and the husband donates his sperm and it's supposed to be his sperm, and then the doctor puts that's definitely some criminal, type stuff. I don't know if it's fraud. It's fraud.
It's at least a civil breach of contract, and the doctor should be liable for damage.
Or he should be able to be sued. Yeah, he should be able to be sued out of his mind for it. And then he should have to pay child support for that kid. I would be like, nope, this is your baby now. You got to pay for it, fam. This kid's going to a good college because you a doctor. No. Don't shut the sperm bank down. He needs to work to pay for this kid that I'm not paying for.
Well,
I love it.
You know what the law is, and this is so incredibly wrong. But here's what the law is in most jurisdictions in this country, and I've talked about this on radio several times, and that is that since DNA and Ancestry.com and 23andMe and all this come out, people have checked their DNA, and a lot of them are finding out stuff they wish they hadn't. And for example, there are several cases of guys who are finding out that their kid is really the mailman's kid. And so what happens is they get divorced and they don't want to pay child support because it's not their kid. My wife had an affair. Let the guy she had an affair with pay the child support. Why do I have to do it? And what happens is in the jurisdiction of the law is that the paternity is, even if you prove it scientifically, the paternity is always assumed to be with the husband. And so he's stuck paying for 18 years for a kid that was the result of his wife's affair. And that's just messed up.
I mean,
but
like, if you didn't notice in the first 3 months that baby had green eyes or blonde hair or whatever, or the mailman's eyes, as they used to say.
Well, I think what it is people be in denial. People don't want to actually admit that that's what happened, because then you, like, especially for men, when that happens, you realize, oh my God, I've been duped. I've been betrayed, and it's a far deeper betrayal, because it's like you've been loving this kid. Me personally, I don't think I would stop loving the kid. I think I'd still be a father, but I'd definitely go holler at partner dude and be like, look, so how much you make every 2 weeks? Because we about to split some bills, homie. Like, I'm not trying to kick the kid out. The woman got to live with you now, but the kid can stay with me.
That's hilarious. I want to circle back to the doctor, because I love the reversal, because I feel like it's always women, like men are always like, oh, this woman's trying to trap me. And that man did that. He was like the one trying to trap those women. He was like, I want to see my spawn. And that's why I'm with Chris. He needs to pay. And he should throw in some for all the other, negligent Maury daddies, the Maury dads.
Well, they think there's more.
My books.
They think there's more. There's only 23 that they found.
Of course, there's more. Of course, how many sperms are in one. How many sperms are in one explosion? It's billions.
Explosion.
I don't think he's like hand tweezing one sperm, Chris.
I don't think so either, but
it's very delicate.
No, but here's the thing: he can impregnate 5 women from one specimen. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It doesn't take much sperm to impregnate you, and they don't do the one at a time, but they literally take a little drop and put it in you. They don't. I don't know. Can we say blast you? Shoot
up the club.
They don't shoot the club up. They drop little droplets of sperm in there and they put it in you, and that's how they do it. So can you imagine? He probably has maybe a small nation of children.
Probably. You're regular at the Comedy Store, so you probably heard this story, the Sam Kinison story.
Which one?
The Carl LaBeouf. Sam Kinison had this posse of comics who traveled with him and who opened for him, the Outlaws. And one of his best friends was Carl LaBeouf. So Carl LaBeouf has a daughter, and everybody swears his daughter looks like Sam. And Sam gets killed. Sam got killed in a car accident. And all the times, Carl LaBeouf swearing up and down that it's not his kid, but it doesn't matter in the state of California. His wife had the baby while she was married to him, so they're after him for child support. Well, he can't pay child support, so they don't let him have his driver's license. There's all these state benefits he's not allowed to get. And so finally, can't travel, all the stuff, because of the fact that he's if you don't pay support, the state just erases you. So eventually she went to one of these DNA places that the daughter did and proved. I mean, all you had to do was look at her and you knew she was Kinison's kid. But she actually had a DNA test and proved that. And I still don't think they let Carl LaBeouf off the hook.
Well, I don't
Life
think
isn't fair, Brian. I don't know if you've ever heard that. How old are you now?
What affair?
I said life isn't fair.
Oh, life isn't fair. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Yeah. And it's also dumb if someone can't pay child support to keep them from getting a job.
Yeah, that's kind of
that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You don't have any money? Well, we're going to keep you from making any money until you make some money.
Well, that's like the bank charging $35 when I bounce a $15 check.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Let's go back to alcoholic dads, because my alcoholic dad pulled a good one on my mom, where he had kids, right, from the first woman, right? Then he gets with my mom. And then my mom was like, she's like, oh, he's not paying his child support. Let me help him out. And she started paying his child support. But then my dad gets back with the first baby mama. And I'm like, she owes you that money, mom. Because at one point she later on told my mom, like, I know it was you who helped pay child support. And my mom didn't have that kind of money. And I was like, tell her to pay you back. Like, she owes you that money. Like, you should get back child support from her for that. But that's just,
he still owes. That's all on him. He still owes, yeah. Because that's you are his responsibility. You are his baby. And as a father, I've really come to the realization that no matter what, child is my responsibility. They didn't ask to be here. They were not, forced to be here. I brought them here. So you know what? No matter what, I'm gonna take care of that. And I would feel terrible asking a woman to pay my child support. That's why I just became a good father. Oh, it was so easy. So easy.
So toilet seat down, and he's a good father. All the things that we're learning.
What he's taking, ladies. He's taking.
My kids love me.
This is a story that something's been bugging me for a while, and want your take on it. They say since the pandemic, guilt tipping, what they're calling guilt tipping, has exploded. And it's exploded to the place where people are just finally getting sick of it because everybody's asking for tips for everything. They say, according to a payroll company called Goto, tips in bakeries and in cafes are up 41%. And did you know that assistant sports coaches, if your kid plays Little League, you're supposed to tip the assistant coach, and their tips are up by 367%. And they say that the guilt tip by using the iPad, the whole thing when they flip the iPad around, for you to pick, 15, 20, 25 or whatever.
I have no problem pressing 0.
No, you have no problem. You never get guilted.
No, I mean, if I'm ordering a coffee, right?
Yeah.
And they want me to pay 20, 25% tip on a coffee. No, I got 50, 60 cents that I can throw in the jar toward the thing, but I'm not. You're getting me a coffee. You're not bringing me a 5-course meal or serving me. It's just, the problem is we refuse to pay a living wage and we expect tips and we expect other people to make up for it. Right. And so that's the challenge right ahead. And that's why you can't sit on an airplane without being bombarded by ads. It's why you can't order a coffee or shit. They want you to tip at the damn movie theater when they bring you the popcorn now.
Yeah.
Like, you put a tip on the thing. I'm like, no, I'm not putting a tip on the movie theater popcorn.
I got that beat. I hate
to be that guy, but it used to be a nickel to ride the bus. It used to be 50 cents for a candy bar.
Have you been to the grocery store and used the self-checkout aisle?
Yes.
Okay, well, there are self-checkout aisles that have a tip jar. Now, I just checked myself out. So who in the hell am I tipping? Where is the money going?
They need to check themselves.
You take the money. We take the money.
I tip everybody.
I tip everybody too. Yeah.
I feel like here's the thing. I'm never going to punish a worker for the flaws of millionaires. I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to sit up here and say, you know what, you don't deserve any this tip. I'm more Riggins Ngaio more. I tip based on the price of what I'm paying. And I feel like, if there's a tip bucket out, I'm pissed off at the owners more than I am at the employees. Because I'm like, I get it. I know what it's like when you look at your check after net and all that, and you still got to ask people to borrow $50 to pay your rent. I know what that's like. I would never put somebody who might be in that position down for saying, hey, if you can help me out extra, please do. You know what I mean? I don't have to tip them, but I understand it because like guys, it's just, there's no livable wages here. And in the Bay Area, especially where the prices of everything else goes up, but the price of the wage does not go up, I'm standing with the people at all times. And even though I don't really have a lot of money, I'll throw in a tip whenever I see there's a need to tip, just because it's us versus them.
Even if it's bad service. Even if the service is bad.
Here's the thing. I understand that service workers go through a lot in a day. That service worker might have had to get up at 5 a.m. to take their kids to daycare, to go to this job, to be treated like crap, and they're having a bad day. And you know what? We all have bad days.
That's
and
true.
The service may not be indicative. The bad service may not be reflective of their laziness, but the fact that they might be at that point where they're about to lose it. They about to break. They about to go home and cry for hours because they still don't got enough to do it. And they getting treated like crap by people because customer is always right is what's wrong with our system. The customer is always right because customers feel they have a right to mistreat and misuse people that work these jobs because they've never worked it. That's why I feel just like in some countries, you have to go to the military for a few years. No, I think in this country, you should have to work in the service industry for a few years. So you understand how to treat people. You understand how to see that that person may not be giving you bad service because they're a bad server, but because they got 15 other tables and 3 of them that already treated them like crap. So it's not even personal. It's like I said, I believe nothing in this world is personal unless somebody tells me it's personal. So I'm just going to go ahead and believe that worker.
Let me bring Kate in. So you because you worked in the service industry, right?
For years. But it's a combination of what both of them are saying, because it's like the minimum wage, obviously in Texas, where I'm from, it would be different than California, New York, rural areas. But the fact that we don't have a livable minimum wage at this point, like even with my, corporate job at time, my boss tipped me out because executives are making so much more money than me. So she would hit me with, buying lunch or doing these little things. So at this point, it's like, if you are not an executive and you don't have those bloated salaries, we're just doing mutual aid to one another. It's like, I just found out someone didn't tip an Uber driver. And even for the coffee, it's like, okay, are you getting bodega coffee? Or are you getting the one where the people are they're putting the thing in the thing? Because I've seen people with one arm that's jacked and the other arm emaciated. That takes wear and tear on your life. It's like those redundant little movements. So I just found, like I said, I'm so shocked my friend doesn't tip Uber drivers. I'm like, you have money for Uber and you don't tip them? That's wild.
I tip my Uber drivers in weed.
Hopefully after they stop.
But I think
during the ride. Yes,
a tip is a tip. That is a great gesture. I feel like weed is medicine. So if I say, hey, don't smoke it now, but when you get off, just relax, enjoy this. Like, I feel like any kind of interaction. I feel like if you're going to use a service, you should expect some sort of tipping, a way of bartering. Weed is a great way to do that. I've left servers joints when I didn't have extra cash because it's like, you know what, this is for you after work, you're gonna need this. And they've always been very appreciative of yo, thank you.
All right, let me ask you guys this, and this is a question for the guys being African American men, because this is something I've dealt with my entire life, and that is the stereotype that Black people don't tip. And so because of the fact that is the stereotype that Black people don't tip, I've always tipped 25-30%. Because of the fact that's what the stereotype I heard from people who are service workers are that Black people don't tip and that groups of women don't tip. So has that affected you? Have you tipped more?
My dad was a horrible tipper. I'm an excellent tipper. I mean, I'm not, like I said, if I'm getting a black coffee, which is my standard coffee order.
Mine too.
Right? I will throw 50, 60s. I'll throw the change in the jar. I'm not giving you $5 extra or $2 extra. No. But if I'm at a restaurant, and I don't care if the service is good or bad, if the service is good, you'll probably get 35% from me. But if the service is just okay, you standard 20-25%. It's no problem. I have no problem with that. And I think the concept that Black people are bad tippers is a myth. Although
yes, it's a racist myth.
It could be generational too, right? And also, Black people used to get really bad service.
Right.
That's true.
Right. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, there's Black people here. We don't really have to give them good service. And then they'd be like, how come they didn't tip well? Well.
Exactly. No, and it's not even just bad service. It was deliberately, neglectfully bad service. It's like bad services, it happens. You know what I mean? But the neglectful bad service that we received is why we didn't tip it. Also, Black people just didn't have that kind of money like that. We were not, we weren't coming from generational wealth where throwing an extra $10 on top of a meal that we scrounged to get was common. So it's literally a myth. It's a racist trope. I tip based on the fact that I've worked in the industry and I know what it's like to be working for tips. So I tip, and I tip also because people who work for tips can fight really well. And I don't want to get beat up at a Waffle House over a bad.
You don't want them walking up to the car after you left, like, do we have a problem? Is there a problem?
I just came for waffles and they gave me a 2-piece and a biscuit. I don't know.
I've had the problem though, where I've worked for so many powerful women of color. My most recent boss, she created Gullah Gullah Island and Taina, and she it would blow my mind. This is a woman who's, older than me. She has a house in the Hamptons. She's doing well. And we would be at a restaurant and she's Afro-Latino, but like people would put the check in front of me. I'm like, I don't have the money. Like you are just, the assumption was always wild to me. And even like peers my age, they like who would be like picking up the tab or like different points right now that I just found out the news, you know, friends paying it, and it's like they just pass it to me. I'm like, give it to her. Like she's got so much more money than me. Why are you doing this because I'm white? Like I am broke. Like
that happens because you're a man too. Like my partner now makes tremendously a lot more money than I do. And when we go out to eat, they literally always drop the check in front of me. And then I'm just like, go on, baby, show them your muscles. Go on.
Last night, Tuesday night, was it Tuesday? It was I guess it was Monday night that Jon Stewart returned to the Daily Show. He's going to do Mondays, I guess, through the election. First time back in, I guess it's 9 years. And he is just getting massacred through social media. Democrats are furious with him. Liberals are furious with him. Republicans are loving it. But the Democrats and the left are really upset. And the reason being is because what he did was he went after Biden and he went after Trump. And he tried to do the both sides ism thing. You know, yeah, they both do this, they both do that, and there are a lot of people, and you can disagree with me if you want, and tell me if I'm wrong, but when it comes to Trump and anybody, there is no both sides. Either you support white supremacy and fascism and the KKK and the Proud Boys, and or you don't. You know, there's no, you know, but he did, you know,
there's good people on both sides, Brian.
Yeah, both sides. Well, I think. Go ahead.
I think there's bad people definitely on the Trump side, but it's one of those things where it's like it's a double-edged sword, but you can't really trip because the other edge is still better than that other edge. I don't know. It's like you said. It's like it's levels to it, I guess. You know, and he was trying to show the levels, but he might have missed the mark by trying to make it seem like they're both on the same level.
The challenge is, I think, is when you want to be like a pox on both your houses, right? Like this guy is ass and also this guy is ass. But one guy is ass for way more serious reasons than the other guy.
Yes.
Right? You know what I mean? Right? So you do want to point out maybe Biden is not perfect. I mean, no one is perfect, but he's done a lot of good things. But you can't, people can't, they want you just to savage Trump all the time, right? And not say anything about Biden because it's an election coming up and you don't want anybody to maybe think, oh, well, Biden has some problems. Maybe I should vote for Trump. You can't do that right now. But
Mary Trump, Donald Trump's niece, said that Jon Stewart, that both siderism is bullshit on this.
It is,
and that Jon Stewart is a threat to democracy. That's her own words.
Let's relax. He's a comedian.
Yeah,
comedians very rarely are threats to democracy.
See, that's the problem. They say something so poignant, like, yes, there is no both sides. That's bullshit. But then they say something so extreme. He's a threat to democracy. Relax, fam. You gotta chill with that.
But there are a lot of people, millennials especially, and Gen Zers who get their news from the Daily Show. That's where they get their news. They're not getting their news from CNN or from CBS, for God's sake.
They get their news from TikTok.
Yeah.
And Instagram.
Yep. That's where all the stuff I'm hearing about Gaza is coming from. All the people that are sharing me some of it, it's all coming from TikTok and Instagram with videos of people. And I'm just like, okay, so this is our new news cycle.
Rick Overton calls it little brother. right? Because you worry about the big brother, the giant corporations with their cameras and whatnot. Yeah. But then there's little brothers. All the people have the cameras, and they're telling mom what's going on, right?
Right.
This is what we're really doing. This is what really happened. So,
and I think, like we had, like Ngaio said, you got to take this with a grain of salt. That Jon Stewart is a comedian who's a host on a show. He's not a journalist per se. He's not a pundit. He's not anyone that works in the government. So I feel like with anything that comes off that TV, you have to say, all right, that's his side. That's his view. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to affect the whole outcome of the election.
And also remember, corporations such as the one that owns Comedy Central. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when media conglomerations weren't allowed to own more than 7 things, right?
Oh, it was more
2 radio stations and 5 TV.
Here's what it was. It was the Telecommunications Act of 1996, the worst thing Clinton ever did.
One of the worst things he ever did.
He's the reason that radio has been destroyed in America.
He's the reason Sinclair Media is
because it used to be you were allowed to own 1 TV station, 1 AM, 1 FM, 1 newspaper in a market. That was it, because they didn't want towns to become Pottersville from It's a Wonderful Life.
Right.
And so what he did was, and what the argument was, is that by allowing them to own as many as they could afford, it was going to increase competition, which made absolutely no sense at all. So what ended up happening is you basically have something like 4 companies that own every radio station in America. And they decide on FM, which Taylor Swift song you're going to hear in the next hour. And AM is all, angry, white men spewing conservative crap. So, I mean, but they, I look at like newspapers, and all of the newspapers here in the Bay Area, there were, every community there was the Oakland Tribune, there was the Marin IJ, the San Jose Mercury News. One company now owns all those papers. One company owns every single one of those newspapers. And so what if they decide, editorial content that they're going to back one candidate? Now you got every paper. Basically, they own every paper. I think it's from Oakland to Monterey. They own every paper. And that's something like 200 miles about approximately.
The joke's on them, because we're in late stage capitalism, this is all falling apart, right? Like the media layoffs was a part of my job. My mom, longtime newspaper and radio person, but it's just like, now, even editorial staff, they're all owned by billionaires, right? They're gutting those. So we don't even have these voices. People have to be independent. That's why you have this podcast. People should fund it, right? Like if you're a journalist, you have to make your own path. And unfortunately, the ones that are going to be like the sellouts within those companies are the voices. But I think that's the same problem with our government. You got these old people, Jon Stewart, same with him. And 60's not old. I'm not trying to be old, but like Roy Wood Jr., I feel like he should have gotten it. Like, let somebody new in. He's in his 40s. Like, give him a chance, you've been there. You had it. Don't be Jay Leno. Like, not again. Just pass the baton on. But we're all, because I don't know what it is. Like, we're just the Roman Empire crumbling.
Oh, I'll give you.
I've heard that analogy a lot. I've heard that analogy a lot over the course of the last couple of years, that the democracies have a tendency to last 200, 250 years, and then everything completely falls apart. So, I mean, I'll tell you, I'm scared. This election scares me, because when you listen to what's being said, and I mean, I saw a thing, Trump had made that statement about how he was going to be a dictator if he's elected, but just for one day. Which is ridiculous, because
what does that even mean?
Well, then if he's going to be a dictator for one day, we should throw a coup that day and remove the dictator through violence, like they all get removed. If he wants to be a dictator today, let's give him the full fantasy.
Well,
why go halfway?
The first thing he'll do, though, is he's going to invoke the Insurrection Act and use the military for law enforcement to put down any kind of rebellion. So it won't work. The first thing he's got is control of the military. But anyway, they went to some Trump thing and they asked all the people, a rally or something. They asked about whether or not they liked the idea of a dictator. Every single one of them said, yes, we need to have a dictator. You know, just like when you would get paddled at the principal's office because you needed to get things straight. That's exactly what it is we need in this country. And it's like where am I living?
They don't know the definition of dictator. It's funny how people who've never had that type of life think that that's what they want because they want power. They want to feel powerful. And they think that what that's going to do is make their country look powerful again. But if they can ask any of the immigrants that live around here who left dictatorships to come here, they'll learn really quickly that dictatorships are not what the biz is, okay? Dictatorships are why we have a border crisis, because we have all these countries where the United States put somebody in power to do their will. And then the people said, you know what, fam, we don't like this. And they try to overthrow it and it becomes a coup or a civil war or some sort of Contra affair. And now, you know what I mean? We have all these people here who left dictatorships, and it's just, and I can go on a limb and say it's probably all white men who really want this dictatorship. It's probably all white men because
that's who they talked to. And the piece that's who they talked to. It was all white men and red hats.
It has to suck to be a white man in this country and be broke and poor and ignorant and not have anything. I would be crazy.
Voters. It's a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of people who are supporting him.
Yeah, because I'm sorry. I feel like it would be infuriating to me if I lived somewhere that was totally designed by people who like me, for me, and I couldn't be a billionaire too. I'd totally be pissed off too. I'd totally be mad. Like, where's my American dream? This is not fair. I'd totally be mad too. So it's just crazy how people don't see that this is what's happening.
I mean, that's the Steinbeck quote of what is it? Socialism never took root in America because the poor see themselves not as exploited proletariat, but as temporarily embarrassed millionaires.
Yep.
Boy, that's a great quote.
That's the one.
That's amazing. That is probably one of the best quotes to describe America throughout all of its stages.
Yeah, that's it. And they say people don't hate the rich because they expect to be rich one day.
Yeah. No, somebody was telling me, my partner was telling me about a study where they asked people, would you rather everybody make the same amount of money, or would you rather make just less money as long as you make more money than somebody else? And everybody said, I would be happier as long as I know I made more money than somebody else. I don't want us all to make $2 million a year. I want to know that I make more money than somebody else. That's what Americans said.
Well, and that goes back to slavery, like the Virginia slave laws. I read this book, How the Irish Became White, because they were basically like, we speak the same language. Some of them don't. Like, let us get indentured servants out. That's the whole. It's like that's the lowest thing of our humanity is like we want to do better than someone else. As long as we're not the worst, then. And I think that's unfortunately, going back to every culture has had, their own ish. It's just the gross part of being an animal. Did y'all watch what was that movie? It's like because we're 98.8% related to chimpanzees. It's called Chimp Empire.
No, I
it's on
haven't seen
Netflix, and it's like a war documentary, a relationship documentary. It's really beautiful and highly recommend it because it's just like that's animal nature. I want to be like we can be better, but like, can we? Has any culture ever? There are beautiful things out there, but like once again, I just got laid off, so I'm like in my feelings. I'm like, is there hope for any of us?
There's always hope. There's always hope, Kate.
I know.
Yes, we can. Oh wait, that's 8 years ago. Let's more than
we still can. We still
Yes.
can.
We almost
that was
did.
15 years ago.
We almost did.
I'm gonna end with this. And I debated whether or not to do this topic. Kate you wrote a play with this topic, and that's why I decided I'm going to do it, and you can participate in this or not. And it was an article in the New Yorker on polyamory. And if you don't know what polyamory is, it's multiple romantic relationships with the consent,
being single,
with the consent of all of the parties involved.
Cheating with permission, right? Is
just called being single. Jesus Christ.
Okay, so are these relationships good or bad? They say apparently it's gone mainstream. Polyamory's gone mainstream, especially in major metropolitan cities. And are these relationships good or bad for a marriage?
It depends on the people. It's like I don't understand why this has to be always blanketed. Like everyone has to blanket everything, because the way these things work is it doesn't work in this very small vacuum. It's a spectrum. Everything in life that we are as humans is a spectrum. You know what I mean? For instance, like you're a black man, father, brother, husband. You know, you're all these things at once. You're not just one thing. So I feel like what it is like, depending on the people you're with will determine what type of relationship you're in. Now I'm in an open relationship because the person I'm with wants to be in an open relationship, and we both feel the same way. We're very honest. When we've gone on dates with others, it's always very open, and it's because we understand how each other operate. Now, if I'm with somebody who wants to be in a monogamous relationship, then I may not be able to do that with them because they want this straight up, and that's okay for them, and it's not okay for me. I think if people think that polyamory is ruining marriage, they haven't been paying attention to marriages for the past 200 years. People have been practicing polyamory in their marriage, whether they knew it or not, for years. And some people called it other stuff. It was open marriage. It's all these different ways to describe it, but you're various things based on the people you're with, or on the people the people you see. So I think if you want to just blanket and say, is it ruining marriage? Well, marriage is ruining marriage. Being married is can be ruining. Like, I don't know. I think we've all been married before here, right? Yeah. And we're all not married now. So
I mean, that's the whole thing though, right? Like, I mean, polyamory is mainstream, and in a way that's cool, because really the point is informed consent, and it's to keep people from lying. You know what I mean? Right? So you don't want to tell somebody who loves monogamy that you're going to be in a monogamous relationship with them, and then you're not going to do it. You're going to hurt somebody's feelings, like really, really bad, right? But if they're like, well, I like monogamy, you're like, well, I can be monogamish, but I need a 3-way on Valentine's Day or some things like that. Or you're like, I am horrible at monogamy. I can't do that at all. I like you, but we can't be in a relationship because my monogamy gene was not instilled. I come from a long line of players, but you don't have to be a player. You can just be honest about it. You just be like, I like dating a bunch of people. I like being single. It's not like we can't be intimate. We can't have, feelings, right? Some people get confused by that because they think like you can't have feelings or you can't feel love or affection for more than one person at a time, because we teach like that whole Disney happily ever after, or the mid-50s sort of thing, where it's
the Notebook
family, even the Notebook, dad's cheating on everybody. Well, the Notebook, but also like I have friends who are really, really good at monogamy. They're fantastic at it, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're great at it.
As far as you know,
damn, how can you guys?
As far as you know, nobody knows what goes on in anybody else's house.
Fair enough.
And all right, so I'm going to give Kate a shot because you wrote a play called Polyamory, and you can either you comment.
It's called polyshamery.
Polyshamery. Okay, now you can comment or not. As I said, I don't want to put you on the spot.
I mean, I have what is it, like a 85 minute show with full of jokes about it. And it was the funny thing is that at that time I was like, now it's trending. I was ahead of the curve. I'm not saying I'm a trend, but I blamed the Bay Area because it was so trendy, and I got as I say, I got tricked because it started out traditional and then it became polyamorous. But like, that
wasn't what you signed on for.
Well, I mean, I like what y'all said, nobody in my family my father definitely was not monogamous. So I was at least like the lie, like be honest. So I at least thought this is what it is. Now, like my partner that I'm with now, he's, I always say, like, my ex-husband, he had a lot of money. He went to like, the fancy boarding schools and colleges. And so that's like, we systematically teach people to cheat, right? Like, it's like, okay, we're going to cheat and use your father's money and merit to get into these schools. So it's like very natural for people who have been in that. My partner now was incarcerated for many years. And so I'm like, if you are not loyal to someone, they will kill you. So like different. The irony is like the people who were like, oh, this is a criminal. I'm like, his code of loyalty, I just really believe everything he says. And like, he has a good reputation. So it makes sense to me. I don't know. Like, I'm now in a monogamous relationship and I'm very happy. But
as far as you know.
Stop that, Brian.
Yeah, Valentine's Day. But we're doing a show tonight at the comedy shop. But I will say that when I did it in the Bay Area, you know, however many 4 years ago, 5 years ago, as my marriage was like falling apart when I wrote it, I got so much hate from people in the poly community because they were like, why are you telling another negative story? There's so many bad stories. We want to support polyamory. And I'm like, I'm supporting, because mine was like breaking out of shame. I'm supporting the like this idea of what you were saying about the Cinderella Hollywood stories. Like the traditional family system is not that the nuclear family, that's like this 50s myth that we still are carrying over. You know, most people don't have that. And I'm all for like, you know, switching that up and making people not feel ashamed, you know?
Hey, people are going to be people, man. Do what you do. I think the point is just to be honest about it. Stop trying to trick people into things. You know what I mean?
And so for basically, me, the polyamory was like shame, because I was so ashamed growing up super Christian of like, you know, and everybody that I knew that was super Christian, they were like, you know, doing a little something on the side.
Hey, small towns, man.
And everybody knows. Everybody
I would just watch all my small town ministers and, you know, teachers apologize for their affairs on Facebook.
It's the love songs. It's the music, man. All these codependent love songs. You the only one for me. You mine. I own you. If anything, I would die for you. All that. That's why I
never thought of them that way.
Rap.
I thought they're romantic and they're codependent.
You know what's romantic? Biggie Smalls, Me and My Bitch. That's romantic. That's real.
I think that Fetty Wap song is also hella romantic. I'm like, hey, what's up? Hello. That's a love song, dog. Trap Queen is a love song.
I mean, in a sense, we don't love these hoes as a love song because it's telling you, look, man, focus on yourself. Don't be out here chasing other people's love. Love yourself. You know, man. Pimps up, hoes down. I feel
chase a bag. Never chase a bitch. Hey.
And there's nothing more romantic than playing Annie up during a hot sexual intercourse session.
Somebody played for me.
I like to play Nuck If You Buck.
Somebody played for me. REO Speedwagons Can't Fight That Feeling Anymore. Remember that song? It's got the line, if I have to crawl upon the floor, come crashing through your door, I can't fight this feeling anymore. And I'm thinking, man, you know, at the time I first heard that, it sounded, he's so that's stalkery.
It's like people who play I'll Be Watching You as their wedding song.
Now, see, even as a kid, that song bothered me. Even as a kid, that song bothered me. You know,
we need polyamorous songs like Ludacris. I've got hoes. I've got hoes in different area codes. And now they all call out the area codes. He said all the area codes, and now all the hoes know that there are other hoes, and now everybody can happily live.
I think that's fair.
It's only fair. And remember,
now it's time for Mitt Romney to run for president.
Yeah.
We can accept a Mormon in the office.
Yes. And remember, hoe is gender neutral. So don't get offended like I'm misogynistic. I'm a hoe. Ngaio's had his hoe phase. Brian, did you do your hoe phase?
It's not a hoe phase. I'm in my slut era.
I mean, show business since I was 18 years old. Yes, I had my hoe phase. Yes, that's the only job I know is show business. So yes, I have had my hoe phase. Yes, yes. There are quite a few cocktail waitresses over the years. And with that,
were you tipping?
I tipped very well.
Just the tip.
At least the tip.
At least the tip. That used to be the joke. How do you get a comic to get an erection? Put on an apron and carry a tray.
I ain't gonna front. There's some kind of hot about that when you see them with all the drinks and they be walking through swiveling them hips and you be like, girl, stop playing with me.
Makes you want to become a headliner. Mm-hmm.
And with that,
they don't sleep with the opening act. That's all I'm saying.
Where is everybody playing? Chris, what's up with you, bud?
I got a bunch of stuff coming up. I'm actually headed to the Bay Area right now. I'm going to be doing some shows with San Francisco Comedy Competition. But March 1st and 2nd, come check me out. I'll be headlining all weekend at the Alameda Comedy Club.
Nice.
You guys get tickets online there. Insane
Awesome.
Wayne will be featuring. But more importantly, I will be at the Netflix is a Joke Festival in May. So
that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's huge. So, that is huge. You're on fire, man.
Yeah, it's the new JFL from what I hear.
You're getting too big for this podcast. I better hold on to you while I can.
Never, Brian. I will always come and do your podcast.
Thank you, pal. And Ngaio, what's up with you, brother?
I will be at the Throckmorton Theater in Mill Valley on Tuesday, February 20th. It's the best Tuesday night comedy show in America. And then I'm off to Barcelona for the International Cannabis Business Conference. And then I'll be in Phoenix at the end of March for the Arizona Growers Cup. And then I'm hosting the Emerald Cup in Oakland.
Now, do you perform? What do you do? You MC these gigs?
I MC the International Cannabis Business Conference. Yeah, so I host the panels and run the questions and answers. And I'm like the little weed concierge sometimes. And I'll be at Spanibus. Like
weed concierge.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Hey, Kate, what are you doing?
Tonight, I'm going to be at the Comedy Shop at 10 p.m. for our Valentine's Day show.
Aww.
With your boyfriend?
With my boyfriend, who I just almost killed because he was being loud. I'm like, we live in such a small, tiny apartment. I'm just like, it is, I need another job soon.
Well, that's it. That's, I'll tell you, when I was married, it was never better than the time when I was on the road, 2 weeks at home, 2 weeks. Because when you come home, it's an event. You know what I'm saying? It's special. It's an event. When you're home all the time, you have a tendency to get on each other's nerves.
That's that thing when you're in a relationship, when you live with somebody and you're a road comic, there's definitely, you come home and it's really nice. And a few weeks later, she's looking at you like, don't you have some gigs? Why are you here all day, every day, bro? You get a day job or something. I come home, you're home. I leave the house, you're home. It's almost time for you to go on the road, right? Messing up the whole rhythm.
Oh, Chris Riggins and Ngaio Bealum, Kate Robards, thanks so much for doing the podcast. It's always a pleasure to have you guys. And I hope all the gigs go well. All right, that's going to do it for us. I will check you out next week. If you want to support the podcast, lots of ways you can do it. Tell all your friends. Send a link to somebody you think might appreciate this show. If you're listening to us, go to whatever platform you are using and give us a 5-star review. That helps people to find us. And if you're watching us on YouTube, we're trying to get 1,000 subscribers. We don't have it yet. We're getting there.
Do it.
But we need 1,000 subscribers. It's free. And once we get 1,000 subscribers, right now we record Wednesdays and we drop Thursdays. Once we get 1,000 subscribers, we can do this live, which is what I want to do, because I want to hear what it is that you have to say, right along with what it is we have to say. So until next time, be kind to your neighbor. He knows where you live.